It's good to have you with me today on Paint a Beautiful Picture. This is episode number 227, An Honest Assessment. Many of us have a very difficult time honestly looking at ourselves and seeing ourselves clearly. That is extraordinarily true of most little children. I recently had a conversation with someone and they said, this certain person that we know, they're not very realistic about their life, and they're truly not. And I actually have a few people in my world who are just not good at making an honest assessment of themselves. They think they are one way, but most of the people who know them, including their family, their children, their mate, and their coworkers, that's not what they're seeing. If you really love your child, you will give your child the most honest and accurate assessment of them that you possibly can, and you will help them to look at themselves as clearly as they are able. All of us have blind sides. It's the truth. I think if we really saw ourselves for ourselves at certain times in our life, we'd probably die of shame, or we'd end up killing ourselves because we wouldn't believe that that's who we really are. I've shared this before. The difference between what we think we are and what we actually are, that is discord or dissonance. And the greater that distance is, the more discord or dissonance that we have internally. The closer those two come together, our perception of ourselves and the reality, uh, the less discord or dissonance we have that goes on. In other words, we're not so uncomfortable internally because those two are pretty close. When you love your child enough to give them an honest assessment, it is a good thing. So your child says, I'm going to grow up and be a doctor. And you say, you're just really and truly not that hard of a worker. You just won't even hardly do your homework at all. And to be a doctor takes 8 years of very challenging, difficult education. Right now, today, there's no way on the planet you would ever be able to be a doctor. If you're truly going to be a doctor, then you better get your priorities straight and you better start making some changes because it takes a lot of incredible hard work and study to be a doc. I'm not telling you can't. I'm telling you right this moment, the way you are, it would never happen. That's an honest assessment. If your child says, I'm going to be a superhero when I grow up, if they're 5, you don't have to tell them, well, I hate to tell you, dude, but you're never going to be able to fly, and there's no such thing as Batman. They're still kind of in the imaginative pretend thing. But if they're 12 and they're looking at you and go, I'm going to be a superhero when I grow up, yeah, it's time for an honest assessment. Well, you can't fly, and you don't have a superhero costume, and actually, that's all just in the movies. So honestly, no, you better come up with a better plan of what you think you're going to be when you grow up so you can start working on it. If your child says, I'm always nice to everybody, and they're not, they're pretty selfish and they can be really mean, it is extremely appropriate to kindly and gently say, you might not be as nice as you think. Remember when you got in that fight with your friend and you broke his toys and you called him bad names? Yeah, you might not be as nice as you think. This is an area where you really need to do some work. It is extremely appropriate to give a child an honest assessment. If your daughter says, I'm going to be a great dancer, I'm going to be a ballerina, and I'm going to dance in the New York Ballet, and I'm going to, be Clara in the Nutcracker, and she has 2 left feet, it is really appropriate to say to her, I understand that you love dance, and you have definitely gotten more graceful. And I'm not going to dissuade you and say to you, you will never do that. But you aren't as graceful as you think. You haven't even gotten the lead in your own little girls' ballet company yet. That really might not happen, sweetheart. I want you to keep dancing because you love it. I'm telling you the truth, though, you aren't a great dancer yet. And maybe you never will be. Yeah, that's really hard. But you know what? We appreciate those people who have enough courage to tell us the truth. And our children will appreciate it immensely when we are able to tell them the truth and give them an honest assessment. We also need to be able to do that on the other side about great things they may not be able to see in themselves. You are one of the most helpful human beings I know. I love that about you. You are very kind. You are very thoughtful. You are extremely generous. You are well organized. You are concise. You are so dependable and loyal. I want those to be specific things and give them illustrations to back them up. One of the greatest gifts we can give to ourselves or to others is an honest assessment of our challenges, our faults and failings, and our gifts and talents. Give your child today the great gift of your love by giving them an honest assessment of who they are. My challenge question for you today is, how good are you at assessing your own strengths and weaknesses? And are you willing to be a person who gives an honest assessment to others? Thank you so much for being with me today on Paint a Beautiful Picture. It's been great having you with me. You may find additional information on our paintabeautifulpicture.com website. Additionally, you may watch me on Rumble, and you may also listen to a podcast on Buzzsprout or Spreaker, all under the name Paint a Beautiful Picture. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. You may subscribe, and if you are interested in receiving notifications, please hit the notifications button.